Speaking of all this food, let's talk about
Hot Lockett. Well, what do you even make of this man's season?
It's unbelievable.
It's impossible.
I'm saying it now. Anomaly.
Fair.
I tend to agree. I really do. Because
57 for 965 and 10 on 71 targets. Not a lot of targets. No great games by our consistency metrics.
And Tyler Lockett is the player we're talking about.
Oh.
Just in case you didn't know who Hot Lockett is. Wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks.
So here are players that had more targets than Tyler Lockett in 2018. Okay?
Okay, I'm listening.
Antonio Callaway.
Okay.
Josh Doxson. Devin Funchess. DJ Moore. Cole Beasley.
Well, Cole Beasley, of course.
When you catch the Beasles.
Yes.
Look,
The craziest
he
stat.
just scored about once a game all year long.
The craziest stat that maybe I've ever seen. I don't know. This is just insane. So Russell Wilson, when targeting Tyler Lockett, had a perfect passer rating of 158.3 on the season. He had 71 targets.
If he threw it to Tyler Lockett,
He had a perfect passer
rating.
The previous record since 2002 of a quarterback throwing to a wide receiver with a perfect passer rating, the high for target count was 15. 15 targets. Well, sure, you could have a perfect passer rating because you get a couple touchdowns and whatever. 71 targets to Tyler Lockett, and Russell Wilson had a perfect passer rate.
Now, please remember, when we talk about Tyler Lockett in this context, we're talking about fantasy football. Tyler Lockett, the player, as evidenced by that passer rating, has been everything and more that Seattle could have hoped for when they locked him up on the extension. But 57 receptions. I just don't know if what that says. Under 1,000 yards, 57 receptions. If he doesn't score, you're in trouble. That's all that is.
Yeah,
and they don't throw the ball enough.
And he scored 10 touchdowns this season on only 57 receptions. That's anomalous. That's not something that's usually going to repeat.
5'11", 170.
You had Doug Baldwin miss a ton of the year, and when he was out there was not really himself for a lot of the year. And like you just mentioned, Andy, this team clearly went a completely 180. They went away from Russell Wilson, the passer. They ran the ball. They got back to the good old 1970s and said,
Schottenheimer.
yeah, we're going to run the ball smash mouth. And there's not enough volume to trust here, and I'm not trusting the touchdowns because, look, every player we've talked about, every wide receiver on last episode and this episode, you want to know what they could do for you? They could be a dominant one to go out there and win your week. They could go out there and have a monster game. Tyler Lockett never did that. He literally did not have one game over 22 points. I mean, his high
peak was 17.9. No, 19. He had a 19 week.
Yeah, it was 19. Most of the time what would happen is he'd go out, have a mediocre game, catch one touchdown, so he's fine.
Oh,
he's
great,
okay. Yeah. But when you're talking about a top 15 wide receiver, finishing ahead of other players who could go out there and dominate some games, in hindsight, Tyler Lockett was a good play all year, but you just can't trust that. You can't project that.
Tyler Lockett's a darling because of where you drafted him and what he performed, based on that drafting. So for me, his consistency ranking was 21. He finished as 15. I'd put him right around 21.
Hey, everybody. Mike from the Fantasy Footballers here. I'm glad you watched that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button below.